Things not to be ashamed of are repeating old patterns. Like I said earlier, there's a reason why we're stuck, and that reason lives in the subconscious part of our mind. It is essentially, using the computer analogy that we all love to hate, where all of those programs live that take us through our day, that autopilot. And the pull, we actually have an evolutionary pull to keep us in living those familiar patterns. Because for our species' sake, when we know what comes next, we feel safer. But none of this is logical, because a lot of you might be thinking, yes, well, I know what comes next when I live this pattern, not something positive per se, or something I'd like to avoid. So this doesn't sound logical. In the language of our subconscious and in the language of evolution, that which is predictable is safer than that which is not. So a lot of us repeat old patterns until we become conscious to the fact that we're living in autopilot. And then furthermore, until we begin to make choices to shift us out of autopilot. And that's a process. And I'm well into my healing journey now. There's still times where my old patterns are right beneath the surface, where I almost very realistically see the kind of shift in, the split in the road where, oh, there's my old reaction, the thing I always used to do in this moment right there at the ready for me. So that pattern for me is still right there in some areas, with the goal being me make the new choice over time and cultivating, taking that new path. Don't be ashamed if you're someone who still sees your old patterns alive and well, maybe you're living them day in, day out. I want you to understand that that's coming from that pull of the subconscious. It prefers to keep you in that familiar, which is why none of us could change, because we were battling this part of our mind that we weren't even aware of being online, being as powerful as it is. And we're trying to shift and change that without the right tools. So those of us repeating old patterns, nothing to be ashamed of. It's what you're going to do until you create consciousness and make new choices to do otherwise.